G'day guys, welcome to this week's weekly developer update. I'm CW and joining once again we have Armenaio. How are you, mate?
Doing pretty well.
Yeah, exciting time. Obviously, the last couple of days, we've seen a lot of chatter around the privacy side of things and specifically Tornado Cash and sort of the developers, sort of some unfavorable things happening on that side, but ultimately the protocol or the contract is still running. So let's discuss sort of privacy and Tornado Cash for a little bit.
Sure. Sure. I think, we should start with the assumption that, if you look at what cryptocurrency is, it's the ability to create a social consensus and some form of creation and emission of money without the permission of a third party.
Yep.
Third parties don't like that. Some of these systems are kind of empowered by this ability to have privacy on the peer side. So people can conduct their business, their transactions without being babysat. And babysitters don't like that. So, I think that in a way it's kind of somewhat common sense. But, there is an element of truth there that, if you look at like the Tornado Cash side, it's like, okay, well, there was a profit incentive there. There was a UI there. There were some things that, okay, they touched that somebody didn't like. I don't care. But
yeah,
in terms of the legality of it, certainly some of the technology that we work with in this space is a little bit gray. And, it's not necessarily gray because it's not useful. It's gray because it's disruptive.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately, if we're going to try to push this technology forward, we're not always going to color in the lines. And you know what? That's great.
Exactly.
In my opinion. In my opinion, that's great. That's a sign that we're doing something right. If it was only the let's say technology or frameworks that's totally accepted in the current system, it's not anything new.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I think that certainly for some people it makes them think twice about participating, and it's one of those things where I don't know. I think that there always needs to be room in this space for anonymous development. Right. I think clear assumptions are important, but certainly if someone looks at the Ergo mixer, we don't know who built it, right?
Yep.
But you have the ability to audit it fully. You have the ability to understand how it works, and you have the ability to run it locally. And if you do that, you kind of inherit your own risks, your own assumptions, your own liabilities, and really that's what decentralization should be about at the end of the day. I'm sure some people have been reading this week about different proposals for what is going to fit the term of a money broker and all of this great nonsense in the US. Well, the ideal is to run everything locally, right? Be in charge of your local state. And at that point, you kind of avoid or sidestep a lot of this nonsense, in my opinion. But it's somewhat counterproductive when it comes to this idea of like, let's get normies involved, right? Because normies don't always want to let's say run a node or run infrastructure or run their own front end. And I think that hopefully the best we can do is make that as easy as possible and put a lot of material out that encourages people to do so because it protects them.
Yeah, most definitely. So there's a couple of sort of things we can touch on. Firstly, on the Tornado Cash front, you did mention having a UI fee, the profit incentive there with a token and bits and pieces there. So,
let's be honest, I'm not against it. They built it. They proof of work. I let them do it. But then it's one of those things where it's I don't know. Sometimes coloring in the lines in this space is difficult because nobody even knows what the lines are or where they are. Some people say, okay, well, if we have clear lines, then at least we'll have some notion of a fair game or some expectation of that. And then,
Mm.
to be honest, I always hope that in the crypto space, whatever the lines are, wherever they're drawn, whenever they're drawn, people just build cool shit and they do it anonymously. Worst case.
Yeah, exactly. And that we've seen that the whole sort of cypherpunk mindset, people go out and do their own thing and continue to do so.
Mhm.
The hardcore cypherpunks know how to cover their tracks and everything like that. Um,
Mhm.
from the perspective of like Tornado Cash, once again, having that centralized UI, it's one sort of central entity or choke point that they can basically try and shut down, whether that's putting pressure on like hosting companies, et cetera, et cetera. But the difference then is the contract's still running on chain. If you have any sort of announce about you can still interact with the contract
Yep.
without going through that UI. The cool thing about the Ergo mixer being sort of run locally, it sort of sidesteps or circumvents that entire sort of centralized UI front. So
Mhm.
having everything run locally, interact directly with the chain, and the biggest thing being non-custodial as well. You keep control of your coins at all times and things like that. I think it's pretty cool piece of tech.
No, it's an amazing piece of technology. I'm sure it's great. I think that in terms of like, people need to, I guess, inherit their own liability in terms of using technology like that. But I'm happy that it exists, and moving forward, whatever the quote unquote lines are, huh, you know, I hope people build what's useful and what provides value and tooling that benefits people, benefits users. So, I kind of sit back and, just watch the space. What else can I do?
Exactly. Build the tools to utilize everything. And the cool thing, a lot of people do know this, but a lot of people sort of aren't aware also, is the ability to mix native tokens. So any
Mhm.
bridge tokens onto Ergo, you can spit up some liquidity, put it in the mixer and things like that. So I think that's a really important piece of technology moving forward, not just for Ergo, but for the entire crypto space as a whole.
Yeah, privacy is important, and the truth is, if you look at like, I don't know, digital advancement, kind of direction of the world, it's getting away from Ergo a little bit, but I would say that this notion of privacy is probably one of the most important things that people need to protect long term, because the truth is, if you start to build a world on systems with absolutely no privacy, I don't think there's any going back.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
most
that, that's a
definitely.
hard cat to get back in the bag once you let it out. Not that I condone putting cats in bags.
Yeah.
Bradberg.
Yeah, put him in a bag, start coding that stratum into a set Ergo. Yeah, so it's an interesting point. And it's one thing I always say as well is you don't really need it until you need it. It's like
No,
goes along with
it's
privacy, security, things like this. People don't really sort of put an emphasis on it until it's actually needed, and by that point, it's kind of too far gone, and there's no going back.
well, I think that people don't really understand or respect privacy, and that's kind of become a common thing. With kind of the, I don't know, ease of a lot of technology that we're surrounded by. But it's important.
Yeah,
It's something that ultimately is there to kind of protect you from the world, right? And I think that's an important factor to consider that everybody needs to look at in terms of sometimes what isn't private doesn't die
yeah,
in the digital age, and there's a lot of considerations people need to look there. Now, when you're talking specifically about your money, yeah, absolutely, you can have a hardware wallet and all the greatest security features digitally, and this $5 wrench might get past that, right? So,
yeah,
everybody out there, watch your six and really take care of yourselves.
yeah. And that's the age-old saying. What is it? Basically saying, "I've got nothing to hide. Why should I worry about it?" And it's not like you go and buy a
Yeah,
coffee and you have your wallet open and flaunting your credit card number
got
around or the
nothing
amount
to
of
hide.
cash and things. So,
I have to say, CW, whenever I hear that, like there's a small voice in my brain that says, "Hey, why are you wearing clothes?" right? Like, no, I mean, it's true. Why do you wear clothes? Part of that is privacy. So
Yeah,
the world doesn't judge you or it doesn't come and take advantage of you. And
yeah.
so if anybody ever says, oh, I have nothing to hide, it's like, all right, well, what are you, a nudist? Get out of here.
Yeah,
Put your money where your mouth is, you
that's it,
know?
mate. And as you can see, we're both fully clothed. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's saving everyone's eyes. All right, mate. Well, let's sort of jump into this before we get too far off track.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, kicking things off, it looks like we have Prag Maxine. So he has U Explorer almost ready for testing after a couple of cleanup rounds, but currently without Swagger, which will take him another few days. So it's unknown territory with the Zio HTTP, and then going to carefully test it through Swagger and then some comparison scripts against the node. It's good to see.
Awesome. Looking forward to you, Explorer.
Mm.
Looks like next we have C8 with bitmasks. They've added beginner-friendly onboarding information to the website. So if you're interested in bitmasks, check out their website.
Yep. Following on, we have Green Hat. That's continuing the revamp with the Ergo tree of valid errors. So what he's completed so far is implemented source spans for all relevant IR nodes. It's checked all the code where eval errors originate and added relevant context info, and also finished Pretty Printer for literals and S-type. As you can see, there's a Sigma Rust link provided. And then next up, we'll be implementing Pretty Printing for the rest of the IR nodes. And then just a reminder, we'll be on vacation starting tomorrow. We'll be back on the September 4th. Enjoy, mate.
All right. Looks like next we have Lato Pixel. So looks like he's still working on MobilERG. Those of you that don't know, he was playing around with sending it via SMS.
Pretty
I hope
exciting
to
to
update.
watch.
Yeah, that's a cool build.
Yeah.
I hope to update the repository before the end of this week with the code and new connection schemes for Raspberry Pi 4 and Pi 0. I've already finished sending a certain amount of erg when receiving a call from a certain number. Now I'm trying to make it possible to indicate the amount to send and the destination wallets by sending an SMS. On the other hand, I finished some files to install the node in a very simple way, directly by inserting a USB. Pretty cool. From Mac or Linux and from Windows. So check out his GitHub at Lato Pixel.
Yeah. Want to check out some pretty cool videos as well. Head over to his Twitter account or X account, whatever you want to call it now. It's got some cool things up there and it's pretty exciting to watch. Okay, next up, why Christian's been helping out in the community once again. So there's a PR put through for the community. They can do NFT trading using the tipper bots. So Lua Varcha's implemented a way to actually have trading the greasy sex tokens through the tipper bot, which is pretty exciting.
Let's see. Looks like next we have Kushti. So he's been working on the reference client 5.0.14. Looks like he's got one unmerged aspect that he's in reviewing. So I expect that we'll see that maybe even drop by the time this video comes public. Looks like he's started some prototyping and is going to continue writing for the fast configuration and block transaction propagation. That's part of the 6.0 roadmap. For Chain Cash, he added refund pass to reserve contract. The repo has been moved to Chain Cash Labs. So set up a GitHub dedicated to Chain Cash. New repo started for the payment server. Looks like Soizor has been working on that, and he's been in discussions with Bruno. Those of you that don't know, Bruno is kind of the architect behind the Age USD protocol and as well as Gluon. Then on to Dexy. As the Spectrum LP code does not support testnet out of the box, code for us is hacking off-chain bots to make them working there. Dmitry Yusov, Dead IT, is deploying LP front end, and there's an ongoing discussion regarding GORT tokenomics, which is the Gold Oracle Reward token.
Yep. It's also probably good to mention the Ergo forum post that Alex put out in regards to scaling solutions, both sort of L2, etc. Encourage everyone to jump over there and give that a read. It's really insightful. Also provide some feedback if you have any suggestions or different articles, proposals, etc. Join the conversation because Alex loves talking about it. Okay, next it looks like we have Liquid Phase and the terahertz.fm update. So he's integrated our PayPal and Venmo checkout API for musicians who opt into fiat sales and distribution. Also for musicians who want to self-distribute in a legacy manner, not on the blockchain. I thought PayPal was a better option than Stripe to integrate because of their recent stablecoin launch and how many people will likely use it. Also discussed in the white paper, the handling of fiat payouts will be handled automatically on a schedule and/or by the artist manual request, so a button clicked on their dashboard, and trackable API for sales and statistics. However, to obfuscate the PayPal business developer account, a legitimate business entity needs to be in control of the account. And as of now, it's his own company, so it's LLC, DBA terahertz.fm. And he will likely be in discussions with a trust estate lawyer this week to set up the Terahertz Trust to hand over login keys and any other information mission critical to the DAO operations and fiat payout mechanisms to the lawyer for safekeeping. It's probably an interesting point there as well. Yeah. So we'll have to designate that majority vote to those who hold terahertz will be utilized to manage the trust. It's a very complex legal setup and one that needs to be done, really need to explore to set up properly. He also may need to contact Terahertz Wales to get them involved at the very least by identifying their Ergo address, which holds the Terahertz, so that they can maintain some sort of voting mechanism for the trust to work. So this is, as far as he can tell, another real-world application for crypto that he hasn't seen before, managing a complex trust by anonymous members who utilize tokens based out of the identified wallets. There's lots to unpack and figure out. So I dare say there's going to be a lot of back and forth there from on the legal side of things. So next up, we'll focus on finishing up the forms on the front end, which the users use to create and publish music releases, culminating in the form used to create smart contract albums using the Ergo contracts. And then after that, it's just UI UX for the rest of the collection items. So that includes artists, venues, events, etc., and some testing before an MVP launch. So it's hoping to be able to set up event ticketing and artist staking before the MVP, but we'll see.
That's awesome to see.
Yeah, lots to work through, but yeah, start the ball rolling and tick things off as you go.
All right, it looks like next we have MHS from Rosen. They're in the process of going through code review. Looks like they found a couple of bugs and fixes. Found a serious bug in the watcher system. The watchers do not care about a minimum bridge fee, while the guard set do. So a set of malicious watchers can report low fee transactions, rendering other watchers to lose money. The fix is simple and ongoing. They also encountered an issue while generating a Cardano transaction in the front end. Sometimes it raises an error not allow ADA leftover to include non-ADA assets in a change address. After investigating, we found out the problem is the function add inputs from in the TX builder of the Cardano serialization library. They have an active issue for it, but without any signs of progress, and it looks like it's in the Ergo GitHub, so good luck. Currently, we are changing the implementation to change box and box selection on our side. The test bridge is shut down, so they'll announce the launch date soon. And there's also been some ongoing R&D around EVM-based chains. We've solutions for most of the needs and have tested part by part. In a few weeks, we'll finalize these parts and we'll begin integrating them into the whole system. That's pretty exciting because the EVM is pretty dominant, and having EVM-based tools really opens up a lot of potential chains that Rosen can plug into.
Yeah, exactly. Utilize their DeFi, bridge to and from, etc. Open up the Ergo ecosystem as well, like we sort of touched on in the intro, being able to utilize mixing tokens and integrate to their dexes and things like that. It'd be pretty cool to see the whole ecosystem open up. Okay, next it looks like we have Morphic on the Sigma side, started to work on better modularization of Sigma as described on the following link. There's also 2 new PRs towards 5.0.11, just waiting on Kushti's review. Has sorted issues for version 6, added more issues related to the version 6 on the Ergo front. Upgraded Ergo node to use the latest Sigma 5.0.10. That's merged into Ergo 5.0.14. Has also reviewed Ergo PRs. On the app kit front, upgraded the app kit with version 5.0.10. That'll be released after the Ergo node version 5.0.14, which is up next. Miscellaneous. Published an article called AI and Blockchain, the yin and yang of the digital age. I'm yet to read that one. I'll have to jump on there and give that a read.
That was a good article. I really enjoyed it.
Yep. To jump on there. Encourage everyone else to do so as well. I've been a bit slack on that front. And next up, we'll finalize the Sigma modularization PR and we'll continue multi-sig implementation.
All right. Looks like next Louis Vatra's given us an update about the Paideia beta. Continued working on bug fixes in the UI UX before the public beta launch. Next week, we'll be more focused on this as well as back-end bug fixing. I'm ready to play with Paideia. I don't know about you.
It's kind of like little carrot just dangling there. Like everyone's
you know what, they gotta clean it up and do what they gotta do. So no worries.
Yeah.
I'm just excited about the potential. I think it's a big step forward in terms of like the maturity of governance, which is really cool to see. Next, we got Crux, creating endpoints for serving data to advanced trading view charts. Created endpoints to serve history of spectrum actions, buy, sell, LP, add, remove. Created endpoint for searching and serving token list with data regarding the token's performance on spectrum. Created worker to keep the table filled with historic ERG price. And it looks like next up, they're going to create a portfolio endpoint for better insight into the value, the total value of a wallet, which includes staked and LP positions, invested tokens, etc., etc.
Lots going on. It's pretty cool screenshots as well of the UI on the Crux front. Plenty of eye candy going on there. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people.
Oh, it looks like here's the article that you'd mentioned earlier. Looks like Kushti dropped the initial rough plan for fast confirmations and block transactions.
Yep. So that's sort of the intro there, tying into stepping into the NIPA power and UTXO set snapshot. Once that's been released, it's now optimizing LO and layer 0, and looking at sort of sub blocks, and I think the term he uses is weak blocks, but I think it's kind of like I don't know, how would you describe that? Kind of an unfavorable term.
No, I think weak blocks is good if you're looking at it from like the security perspective, right?
Oh,
and I know that's exactly where Alex and the core team needs to come from in building this type of thing, right? And I'm sure that, you know, as it's more finalized, it can be pushed more towards like the front side of the market where people say, hey, you know, let's perhaps rebrand this in a way that's easier to explain or, sounds better. I've heard, cold blocks, hot blocks. There's a lot of, discussions out there. So I'm curious to see where the community comes together and lands. Most important thing though is security assumptions, right? So at the end of the day, I think looking at it from weak blocks and understanding the trade-offs there and, kind of the timing in terms of like network consensus around weak blocks is important. So I think we're at the right starting point. I think it should develop and maybe get a coat of paint on it at the end, right? But Yeah,
It's
the
just a simple
net.
piece of terminology and things like that, and
Exactly,
totally understand
exactly.
Alex's perspective. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll get there. I'm excited. I think anyway, it's nice when the community jumps in and wants to name stuff.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Like I sort of mentioned earlier, jump on there, give it a read, and provide some feedback and discussions and things like that. Because uh, the more minds that are being put to this, the mind share will sort of accelerates this and considers different perspectives and things like that as well. So yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have the Big Cheese Enthusiast, and on the Sigma Phi front, successfully tested the price-based liquidations via Spectrum LP box. Also made initial outline for tradable NFT bonds. So also considering tokenized bonds, which could be distributed amongst multiple people at once. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Looks like
Hoping things are up.
next we've got the Comet team, and it says since Simon is banned from developer chats, I will post this for him. Well, I guess if you really want to contact Simon, everybody, he's around in Baseless and a couple other channels that we probably shouldn't mention here. Um, you know, I don't really want to know what he did to get banned from the developers chat. So let's
Ask no questions, tell no lies.
yeah, interesting. This looks like the Comet update. So Comet has officially cloned the Ergo mobile wallet and added a Comet logo. Made it spin 360 degrees and called it Comet Wallet. He and his partner also added numerous transactions. And it says, tip me a beer, and drop the tip address. Well, good luck with that. I hope they keep it up to date.
The
I
Comet
guess.
team's developed 2 wallets now.
Yeah.
And a DEX
yeah,
front end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the boys do have some fun and things like that, and good to see them venturing out and having a play and things like that. So yeah, it's a cool thing about open source, but yeah,
It is. It is. It's
mind what
fun
you
for the
do and what you
community to
use.
play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Death Grips On in the Analog Ergo update. I always find that name such a tongue twister. So have been very busy for the last month with personal life and family related things, so I was not able to produce much of an output. That being said, he's working on Atomic API on the Git to make it easier for him to automatically test the protocol. So the current goals include improving the encryption client's data handling and streamlining the protocol interactions for any potential client that is compatible with the protocol in the future. So,
Awesome to see. Let's see.
bit of chatter here around databases and things. I think it's
Next we've got MGPie, it looks like.
Yep.
Looks like with Zengate. Shopping cart payment shipping implemented in the database. App design for traceability portals complete. The MVP IPFS integration is complete. The NFT viewer UI is complete. Logic in progress. The winter MVP library and backend is complete. With Phoenix, they've added Ergo Pay support. The hold token contracts and testing is complete. With Lilium, partial Ergo Pay support is complete. Needs to be responsive for mobile too. With Ergo names, the UI implementation is in process and the subdomain contract is in process, the final contract. So MGPie is busy as always. It looks like, yeah, I guess he keeps going, but that's more side conversation.
Yeah, lots going on there. He's working on multiple fronts and also spending a bit of time away as well. I saw a post that he was with Mick from Blitz TCG at the Rare Bloom. So it's good to see getting out and meeting people in real life. It's cool to see.
Yeah, I guess I'll probably meet up with him tomorrow. Awesome.
Sounds good. A little bit of FOMO there, I can tell you. So once again, another jam-packed week. So lots of things going on. I don't know, we've sort of touched on a couple of times, the scaling solutions. I know a lot of people sort of have discussed about Ergo's 2-minute block times, and I think it's quite well aware of why the 2-minute time was sort of chosen. But yeah, there's lots of scaling solutions in the toolbox here ready for Ergo to sort of expand the horizons.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times people don't necessarily understand proof of work, and proof of work in a way is not designed for like throughput or fast confirmations, because this notion of like finality is based on the amount of energy that's added after a transaction is submitted, right?
Yeah, that's the
And
big one. The
so,
term, I think, is finality, not
yeah, it's
confirmation.
finality. It's not just confirmation, it's finality. And so if you look at it from the perspective of finality in proof of work, that's really what's important. And I don't know. Sometimes, going fast is really sexy in this space, right? So, there's been a million projects that say we have a billion, jillion, trillion, million, TPS. And, it does open questions, right? Where do you put the data, number one? And, how do you achieve that? What's the system look like? And I understand, like, from the user experience, people don't like to submit something. And, I guess you kind of hit what I call the Gaza block, where, is submit something and then boom, we hit that the 10-minute, 15-minute block, which is painful, but proof of work does have kind of a randomness and luck to it. So every once in a while, you just run into that. Now, hopefully if we can get, block confirmation times, right, and we'll help people, they won't sweat as much. They'll see, hey, something's happened.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change this notion of finality. And that's actually really important to understand if you're going to understand your assumptions working with a proof of work system.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. It's probably something that we can highlight a little bit more in the ecosystem as well, is that notion of finality and not just the confirmation time for blocks. So, very useful term there. All right, guys. Thanks once again for tuning in to the weekly developer update. Always find this time of the week most entertaining, jumping on and seeing what everyone's putting together. So thanks for that. And Joe, always a pleasure chatting.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. Hope everybody out there's having a great weekend, and tune into the next one.
Have fun up at Rare Blue, mate. Enjoy. Say good day to
Yeah,
the boys
Rare
for me.
Evo now. They changed the
Rare
name.
Evo. Yeah, sorry. Rare Evo.
That's all right. Same thing.
All right. Exactly. All right, mate. Take care. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good one.